Hello, my Pathway students. This is Mrs. Lomas coming at you to explain your final copy of your request letter. Of course, this is posted on our classroom account on Thursday, May 7th, to give you plenty of time to review it, look at it, and do what you need to do before our next Zoom session meeting. So you have already filled out your worksheet with regard to figuring out how you're going to set up your request letter. Keeping in mind that you are asking someone in your life to write something nice about you. Now you click on this in Classroom, which is, it's not really a sample letter. This is a set of instructions, okay? So that you can see exactly what to do. And then you're going to notice also on Classroom is the blank document where you're going to type your request letter. I highly recommend splitting your screen between these two documents or simply doing what you see me doing here, and that is going back and forth between these two tabs so that I remember exactly how to set this up. Let me begin by discussing this blank document. You're going to notice right here that the font size has been set to 12. Don't change that. Your font size for your final letter needs to be size 12. I have selected this particular font style. You are welcome to select pretty much just about any other font style as long as it looks professional. Do not select font styles where they are written in cursive or where the font style is written in all capital letters. You want to make sure that it has variety in the print, meaning it has both capital and lowercase letters, and again, looks professional. Once you realize that this has been set up for you, you're also going to notice that I have not changed the spacing. And that's because you have to manually design the spacing for your letter. So let's start here with the instructions regarding the upper left-hand corner of your letter. The very top, you are going to type out your home address. Notice that you are not including your name. So right here, you would begin with, whatever your address is, 115 21st Street, okay? Oops, I meant to put the 21st together, my apologies. Now, I'd like you to notice that I wrote out the word street. That is extremely important for you to keep in mind. If you live on a street, a lane, boulevard, drive, whatever the case may be, an avenue, you have to write it out. That's being professional. Then, of course, you have your city and state, which I know for most of you is Wyandotte, Michigan. And then I tabbed over 5 spaces for the zip code. So between the state and the zip code, you will actually hit the tab key once, and that gives you the proper amount of spaces that you need. If you do not know your zip code, then this is a good time to learn it, juniors in high school. You can simply go to the post office website online, type in your city and state, and your zip code will pop up. The next line, again, this is all single spaced. You are going to type out the current date. Notice that my directions here tell you not abbreviated. So this final letter needs to be done by May 14th. So you might as well use that date, May 14th, 2020. Little side note about the year 2020. When you are dating or signing legal documents, do not ever abbreviate the date with just 20. So if I'm dating something 5/14/20, why is it important to include the last 2 digits? Because this is the one year where people could go back in and change your signature to anything that he or she wants. So if I want to say that you actually signed this in the year 2018, it's really easy for me to insert those 2 numbers. So you want to make sure that for 2020, you are writing out the full year. But in any case, anytime you write out the date in a professional letter, you always write it out, you don't abbreviate it. Now, you're going to notice that I have here in red 4 spaces. So you will hit your enter key 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And this is where you will begin writing the name of the person plus the person's title, if applicable, just like you saw in the sample letters, just like you've seen during our discussion. You want to make sure that you include the person's title in an appropriate manner. So if, for example, in our class session, I used Mr. Wymore as an example. In the student sample you see on Classroom, the student contacted Mr. Filipiak. So simply writing George Filipiak, Marshall Wymore, Leela Blake, if it's a teacher at our school, and then of course you put comma teacher, that's perfectly acceptable. Now, the other example that you saw was addressed to Mrs. Stephanie Maiello. She is a department at Ford Motor Company. And so the student wrote down the person's Mrs. Maiello's department as well as Ford Motor Company. So you want to make sure that whoever you are contacting, you include that information. So it could be, Marshall Wymore, teacher, social studies department, Roosevelt High School. That's completely fine. You then, of course, get the company's address, which again could end up being 2520 Ford Road, Dearborn, Michigan, whatever the address is. And then I want you to notice here, I have once again hit that tab key after the state. I hit the tab key once so that the zip code is pushed over to the right by 5 spaces. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Now, how many spaces are between this section and the dear section, the salutation? Okay, let's see. 1, 2, it should be just 2, so I'm going to backspace that, my apologies. 1, 2, okay? So right here, you have dear and name of person. So of course, you're going to address this up here, whoever that person is in this area, keeping in mind that if this person has a PhD or is a medical doctor, then using doctor is extremely professional and courteous. Believe me, that person earned it. If it is a man who does not have a title such as that, Mr. is perfectly fine. If it is a woman, you want to stick with Ms., MS period, because that is the professional abbreviation that should be used. I want you to notice in red that I have included the notice the use of a colon. So right here, you're going to use a colon, not a comma. That is very important to keep that in mind. That's professional for these kinds of letters. Then right here, at the end of the colon, I hit my enter key 1, 2 times. And this is where I begin paragraph 1. I want you to notice that because these are my instructions, I have it labeled paragraph 1. You are certainly not going to do that. You are going to start typing your letter. Please notice here, everything is lined up on the left side of the paper, the left side of the document. So you're going to begin typing right here. What is it that you're going to begin typing? Background information about your qualifications. Even if you feel the person knows you really well, you also explain why you need this letter. If you're not sure if your sentences make sense, go back and look at the 2 samples on Classroom that I have provided to you, one written to Mrs. Maiello, the other one written to Mr. Filipiak. But you also want to refer to the worksheet document that you already uploaded into Classroom to see the kinds of things that you noted so that you understand what you are writing. So if you are writing this letter to your best friend's dad because you've known him since you were 5 years old and now you work for his plumbing company every summer and he knows you very well, that's great. And you should be very proud of that. However, you still want to provide qualifications in this first paragraph to make sure that you understand, to make sure that this person understands exactly what you're looking for, and you understand how to write a business letter of this magnitude. You'll then notice my red note double spaced. So when I go from here to here, I hit the enter key twice because the whole letter is technically single spaced. I'm using my enter key on my computer to incorporate the correct amount of spacing. This paragraph, you are going to actually state exactly what you want this person to say about you. For some of you, that's going to feel weird. You're going to feel like, why in the world am I telling this person, make sure that you say nice things about me, because this is a very specific letter that you are going to be using in the future for future projects, as well as future communications regarding college applications, job applications, military applications, certain programs at colleges or universities, etc. So you want to make sure that you tell this person what you would like highlighted. Some of you are really organized. Some of you are really outgoing. Some of you are kind of on the timid side, but you are a workhorse. You don't stop working until the job is done. Some of you are really good with people. Okay, again, figure out what it is about you that is so incredibly great. And then go ahead and incorporate that into this paragraph. List those qualities so that this person understands, okay, this particular young man, young woman really wants me to talk about the fact that he or she is a people person. And you know what? I would agree. I've seen this kid in action. Let me talk about what being a people person means. Double spaced again, on to paragraph 3. Again, still typing along the left side of the document. Everything is lined up over here. Right here, this is very important. You definitely want to express your gratitude. This person has taken the time out of his or her busy schedule to type up a letter that says nice things about you. So make sure that you're grateful. Next important part of this, provide a date by which you need the letter returned to you. Again, we are not technically mailing these out because of the current situation of how we are learning. However, I want to encourage you to actually send these letters to these people and get a letter back to you so that you can use it in a portfolio or something else. Since the final copy of this letter, you'll look at the due date on Classroom and see when you have to have it into me. You generally want to go, because I need to evaluate it and grade it, so you want to go about 2 weeks after you would get the letter back. My recommendation for this letter is that you ask this person to get this letter back to you no later than May 28th. So the date that I want you to use in this paragraph is May 28th, 2020. In the meantime, we'll of course be working on other projects, but that's for this person to return it to you. And then finally, this statement right here, being the last line of that particular paragraph, is very presumptuous and it works. When you say to someone, thank you in advance for ... you are basically, in a very subconscious way, insinuating that you expect this person to help you. And it's really hard to say no to someone who says, thank you in advance for doing this. Trust me, I know from personal experience. We double space once again, and we get right here to your sign off. You are going to pick one of these. There are other suggestions in the slideshow on Classroom as well. You're obviously not picking all of them. Here's what I want to point out to you. Some of our phrases are only one word. Some are 2 words. If you are using one that is 2 words, the second word is not capitalized. So keep that in mind. And then right here, you end with a comma. Now watch, I would hit this enter key 1, 2, 3, 4 times. You can see that right here with the directions. You would type out your full name. This is where you need to decide if you're going to use your middle initial. If you have a shortened version of your name that this person normally calls you, that's great, but this is a professional letter, and so you need to use your legal name. If you decide, okay, I am going to use my middle initial, okay? So if I were writing this letter, I would put Kelly R. Lomas, okay? I'm going to get rid of this for just a moment. You're going to see that I'm going to sign it, so to speak. So I want my signature to be a different color, and I want it to look like a signature because I'm doing this digitally. All right, keeping in mind there's still 4 spaces. So my point, ladies and gentlemen, is this. If I'm going to email this letter to someone, then I need to sign this document digitally. Change the color, make it look like cursive. If you print this letter and actually send it in the mail, then right here, you would actually sign your letter in blue or black ink only. That's key, blue or black ink only. Right here, I decided to print Kelly R. Lomas, and so therefore my signature has to match. I then label who I am, a student at RHS, and my letter is done. I am doing all of this in my blank document on Classroom and then submitting it by the due date to my instructor in Classroom. Now that you have seen how to do this, which is wonderful, okay, you can of course go back and rewatch this video if and when need be. You can take all of these tips, put them here, keeping in mind that you are transferring information from the document that you've already uploaded into Classroom into your blank document here, writing your letter, following the guidelines. And then we will talk about what we're going to do with these letters at a later date. But more importantly, we will definitely discuss these in greater detail at our next Zoom session. Don't forget, I hold my Zoom sessions every Tuesday. It's been a pleasure. Talk with you soon. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns.